Time. All right, we're recording. Welcome to
Okay.
Mels.
Yeah,
Welcome to
welcome.
Mels 601.
Go ahead.
It's Tuesday night, September 25th. I hope all of you are doing well. For those of you with us live and for those of you who'll be watching this later, I received this email this afternoon from our dean, Dr. Bull. He asked that we be mindful of the impact that Florence has on our candidates. They're reaching out to let us know as soon as possible ways we can accommodate your needs. We did that last Tuesday, as you know, and we also canceled class last Thursday to let some folks try to get their lives back to order and catch up on things. As we've told you, we put deadlines back a week, and we'll work even further on those. Dr. Stedman and I've been on the road for the last 2 days in a legal conference, but we caught up this afternoon, and he has a plan in terms of pacing. So, Dr. Stedman, I'll let you talk about what we talked about this afternoon.
Okay. I have looked at our calendar and when things are due, and based on and we deliberately when we schedule our weeks, we deliberately put some comfort time in there that we can work with, and so we are tentatively saying that after week 9, which is our fall break, and we do not have a scheduled Zoom session for that week 9, and that is the week of October 22nd. By the end of that week, everybody should be back on track, and that's when all of the APSL was to be completed, submitted, and we actually had a week prior to that we gave you a little bit of time in there. So it's built in there for you to be able to catch up if there's any catch-up time at that time. I will tell you, I have been highly impressed with the work that has come in over the last several days. Dr. Lamb, we talked, and you know, I would say 95% of you have taken advantage of this opportunity, and you've used it to get ahead. And the work, for the most part, Dr. Lamb, has been very good work that has come in. I've been pleased with the quality that's coming in. You're following, exactly what we have talked about, and it appears that you've caught on to the expectation, and we're seeing what we need to see at this point. So don't let us down just because I've said it and backslide on us. Continue doing what you're doing. But at this point, we're saying that the week 9, which begins October 22nd, that week, make an effort to make sure that everything is caught up, and that by the time we come back for week 10, which officially starts the APTEL, which is the second evidence, we'll talk about it before then, but we officially will not start on it until week 10 based on the pacing and the schedule. We should be back on target then, and we should be able to move forward as the schedule appears. So just know that until then, that we will continue to work with where you are as much as we can. Now, Dr. Lamb, I did see that question come up. You need to make sure that you are still working with your peer groups, and if it's for some reason you are one that has been displaced and you don't have internet service, or there's an extenuating circumstance, you need to communicate that with your group. But Dr. Lamb and I need to know that as well, so that we know that you are, I haven't heard from anybody, Dr. Lamb, that has been the case. So, give your team the courtesy, and I will tell the team, Dr. Lamb, that if they should not let one person hold them back from moving forward with their work.
We can make accommodations for them later.
No, I haven't even made it yet. You're gonna have to wait a minute.
And if for some reason you are supposed to do a peer review on someone and their work is not ready, then
Dr. Stedman, I've had to mute. I'll unmute you in just 1 second. All right, you're back on the air.
Okay. I was just saying that if you are scheduled to do a peer review on someone and they have not submitted their work, then let either Dr. Lamb or me or both of us know, and we will work with you. Don't let that hinder you from moving forward, and you will not be penalized because somebody else has not done what they're supposed to do. Dr. Lamb and I will be aware of that, but just make us aware, and then we'll work with the individual if it's somebody that we need to work with, Dr. Lamb. I think that's everything on catching up and, what our expectations will be, until we get back on schedule. This evening, our goal is to take a look at task 3, 4, and 5, because many of you are at that place that we can move forward and just let you know what you're supposed to do, and we will go back and revisit that next week and the week after that as well. But we don't want to hold anybody back that might be at a place that they can move forward, with the other tasks. Many of you are already, in spite of the fact that we were in a major storm, many of you have already successfully submitted task 3 and have done a good job with it, following the example Dr. Lamb provided and following the template that we have given you. So Dr. Lamb, I just wanted to look at task 3 again and just remind them, that's where most of you are at this point, that there are 2 prompts. Prompt 1, remember you identified your problem at the end of task 2. You identified your problem, so now you are working. Everything you do from this point is going to be centered around that problem that you have identified for your school. You're to do 2 things in prompt 1. You're to do a regular literature review, and then you're to do an annotated bibliography. The regular literature review should precede the annotated bibliography, and that literature review should focus directly on the problem that you identified in task 2. Your annotated bibliography should be a list of resources that can be used that will help you, possibly help you attack the problem that you identified in task 2. Dr. Lamb, I think you said that a minimum of 4 regular references and 2 online references. Is that not what we said?
Yes.
And the example that Dr. Lamb gave you, he gave you an example of one that was approved. So, why wouldn't you look at that and follow that example? It's correct APA. Just follow that, and it will guide you in what you're supposed to do if you have not done that at this point. And then prompt 2, it said you're going to do 2 things. It says the candidates will detail how the PLC created and used multiple graphic organizers and visuals, such as charts, graphs, tables, etc. And you're to embed them in the narrative to demonstrate how the PLC projects that the chosen best practice strategy might be applicable to the need. In other words, you're going to detail it. That means you're going to talk about it. You're going to write about it. And then you're going to show us as well. So, you're not just going to put graphs and charts there, but there should be some dialogue that you have written that's going to explain things as well. Please be reminded that you should, as much as possible, you should still be working with your PLCs, and we should see evidence at a minimum of an agenda showing that you are meeting with your PLC. If your administration is involved, please indicate that as an artifact to let us know that you are working with them as well. You always do a reference as applicable. Remember, your reference section comes after prompt 2, and then following that, if you have an appendix, the appendices comes after that. One of the things, Dr. Lamb, that I've noticed that you need to make sure that you're following correct APA with your references, and you're double spacing the text in there. So please be reminded of that. I have nothing else about task 3, Dr. Lamb, because we've gone over that, and I just wanted to review it briefly.
Okay.
Had some questions. Go ahead. Did you have any questions about that, or anything you need to say, Dr. Lamb?
I have two things, 3 things actually.
Okay.
Please remember in your literature review, we need to see 3 references in your literature review that precedes your annotated bibliography.
Right.
That's number 1. I was asked again this week, what is the literature review? Well, I would restate what my most pressing need was that came from task 2. And these are the things that we looked at. And this is the direction that we decided to go. And here's our annotated bibliography. So that's kind of the way that will work. All right. Looking at the end of prompt 2, this is the second item. It says that suggests the use of technology already not being used. That doesn't say required. If you can, it'd be nice if you could use something you're not already using, but that's not a requirement that you use a technology not already being used. That's just a suggestion. See, it says suggests the use.
But right. Sometimes, Dr. Lamb, when those suggestions are in there and you move forward, that can make the difference between something that is proficient and something that is accomplished.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The third thing and the final thing on this one, don't start prompt 2 with your graphic organizers. APA format says that we never start a paragraph or a section with a graphic or a figure. Charts, tables, and graphs are called figures. We always have an introductory narrative. So when we see prompt 2, I had a couple of these this week, and I had to remind them, I should see a narrative preceding your graphic organizers, your figures, that explain what you're going to tell us with the use of those figures. Let me say that again. That introductory narrative should explain to us what you're attempting to tell us or show us through the use of those figures. All right, so that's my 3 things. Those are the things, that's my feedback from all the ones that I read this week. Those were the 3 things that stuck out to me that I wrote down as I need to review with you tonight. All right.
And Dr. Lamb, while you're talking about narrative, this is just, just for future reference. When you complete a task, like you're completing task 3, it's always good to even conclude with a short, even if you restate what you said at the beginning, just a short narrative at the end, and this helps you to transition into the next task that you're going into. Right. So just think about that. Mm-hmm. Okay, task 4. And many of you are at this place already. Task 4 says the candidate will lead the PLC in the research and development of an action plan proposal to present to the administrative team. Now, I want you to notice what it says again. You will lead the PLC. That means that you're taking on a leadership role in the research and development of an action plan proposal to present to the administrative team. Dr. Lamb, can we go back to the APSL template and resource section and then come back to this? Is that going to be a problem?
No.
Okay, I want to show them something.
You want to see? You want to see?
Yeah, go to the APSL templates and materials. Okay, come down. I added some things this week. I went on a scavenger hunt and found some good stuff. Go to the bottom one first. This is Dr. Willard Daggett, and he is very well renowned, his research. It's older. It's an older, now it opened up for me every time I went in there. No, click on the thing itself. Yeah. Well, I don't understand it. It opened up every time I checked it. I checked it even before we came online.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I checked them to make sure that they were working and active. If they're saying it's not opening for them, Dr. Lamb, but I promise you it opened up 30 minutes ago. And Kira said it opened for her. Okay, just hold on. It's good stuff.
Okay.
That was it, yes. It was presented in 2005, but Dr. Lamb, this is all good stuff. And what Dr. Daggett has done, his whole presentation was on effective research based on action plans. So there's a lot of good stuff embedded in this article. So I would ask you to, to read that and to look at and apply it as you need to apply it. And the good thing about this is it's talking about action plans for every evidence that you do, the 6 evidences that you do. You're going to have to do an action plan every time. So this is going to help you not only with the APSL, it will help you with every other evidence that you're going to be working with as well, the information in here. And it's all research based. It's good stuff.
Okay.
So we'll have to go back and look at it and find out why it's not opening up for some, Dr. Lamb. I have no idea why.
Okay.
I don't know. And then check on the other one. I found a copy and a good example of a literacy based action plan.
Let me see if I can. We'll need to probably try to save this.
Okay. Okay, Samantha said she was able to get it open. So
Okay.
What
I'll do
some
then.
not. It may have something to do with their school systems, and if they're using that, the school system may block some things.
So what I've done is I put it in a document, a PDF form.
Okay. And
So
I can put it in
if the
there. I can
link
put it in
doesn't
there,
open the
loop what I've
document,
got in there and put it in there too. Yeah.
so we'll do that. So it's here,
Okay.
and I will. I'll email it to you.
Okay. We'll get it fixed for all of you, though. Just know that.
It's bad when you're collecting the first person that pops up is Dr. Stedman. That means I email him the most. That's not good. All right.
Well, I'll probably email you the most back. So.
All right. So there it is. It's there. This is in the C10 section of mine. I'll put it in C12 after a while, and Dr. Stedman will put it in his. We'll have it for you one way or the other.
Okay. And come on down. I want to show them. I found a good example of an example of a school-wide literacy action plan. And this is actually, it's very credible research base. It's from ASCD, the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. it just step by Dr. Lamb. A lot of this is exactly part of the template that very similar to the template that we have been using.
Somebody has copied my work.
Yes, yes, but I was amazed when I looked at that and saw just how much it flowed. So I felt like that this would be something good that they could look at as well to get some additional assistance with, as they're looking at things. And those that are looking, many of you are doing your problem you identified is literacy based. So you should get some good ideas from this.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember to give credit where credit is due if you're using their work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because my action plan is about 10 years old, so I probably preceded them on this one. I think I did that one.
You probably did, but it just what it does, Dr. Lamb, it validates again when you look at the research out there,
my work,
that what we're doing is right.
That's a good thing. If somebody using my work, that's a good thing.
It validates things.
Yeah,
yes.
That's obviously is a takeoff on what we've been doing in Mels for the last 10 years. Okay, let me see. We got some questions here, if any of these. Okay. Minimum 3 options for best practice strategy. Yeah. Yes. 3, does not. Does not. Okay, we're good. Okay, so we're caught up on questions.
Okay, go back to task 4.
Okay.
I had this question to come to me this week, and they said, Dr. Stedman, when you look at it, says the importance of the action plan research-based. What do I do there? Well, I thought about it because the question that was asked, do I talk about what makes a good action plan, or do I look at what makes a good action plan for my identified problem? And after I thought about it, the answer is both. When you're talking about the importance of the action plan, I think you need to have something in there that talks about, what is it, and the information that we've provided you will assist with this. But what does research-based information? What does a good action plan look like? And then you need to focus on your particular action plan. Dr. Lamb, you have any comments on that as well?
Well, just one general comment. I've been here for the last 2 days to this school law symposium in Raleigh at McKimmon Center. And one of the sessions that I was in today was a session on my school is not performing. What should I do now? What can I do now? And they basically set and outlined our app cell. Create a PLC, do your data mining, but they talked about the action plan, putting their action plan together. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I had this recorded, this session recorded that the state is putting on to show our students how important this is, that you can't just come in with an action plan and somebody says, well, why should we do this, or where does this come from? And basically they say to you, well, I just thought it was a good idea. And what the state was presenting today is there's a process. This is called closing the gap. All schools are supposed to do this. Public schools are supposed to do this, to look at the gaps in their different subgroups. They didn't spend as much time on the action plan as I thought they should have. They basically said just make sure they're SMART goals. Everybody knows what SMART goals are: specific, measurable, attainable. You folks all have a master's degree, so you're not going to have to take 604, our curriculum class, in which we cover SMART goals. Our assumption is that you already knew SMART goals. But they just talked today about the importance of making sure your action plan relies on a SMART goal format, that it's attainable. That's one of the things that we have been working on. We obviously are working in the context of SMART goals here, that things that are attainable, things that you can do to move your scores. They're research-based. We've talked about the difference between a goal and an indicator of success, that you have to be reasonable. They have to be attainable. We can't make 4 standard deviations of growth in 1 year. That one is realistic. We've talked about all of those things. So as we move into this action plan, the importance of the action plan, Dr. Steadman's covered that. Alignment with student learning outcomes. We need to make sure that we're aligned with the curriculum, that this is something that we need for our students to know, that we have goals. Short term is our indicator of success. How much do we need right now? Long term is where we want to get eventually. We want to get to 80 from 65, but we can't make that jump in 1 year. We want to make 70 this year. Specific activities are aligned with the designated goal. That what we suggest to use, the activities that we want to use with these students, have proven through our literature review and annotated bibliography that this has proven to work with students that look like ours that have problems like these. That's what that alignment is. That's what that alignment is we know that what we're proposing has worked with students that look like ours and that have problems similar to ours. This has worked.
And Dr. Lamb, that alignment is aligned with what the state expects you to be doing anyway.
SMART goals would fall under short, yes. Yeah, that's your SMART goals. I didn't put SMART goals on this. I thought that might be confusing, but that's the whole idea. SMART goals are short, medium, long. They're attainable. It's not something pie in the sky. Yeah. Should we discuss how your plan aligns with your district strategic plan? Absolutely, because your school improvement plan aligns with your district strategic plan. Absolutely. And
those are good questions, Dr. Lamb.
That's exactly right.
Good questions.
Your action plan should align with your school's improvement plan, which aligns with your district strategic plan. And that's the alignment with student learning outcomes. That's that part of it. Align with designated goals and indicator of success with measurable techniques. That's your, what would be an indicator if we move this many points this year? And the measurement, well, it's going to be the integrator into course test. Clarification of roles and responsibilities. Who's going to do what, where, when, and why? Person's responsible. Where they're going to get the money? When they're going to do it? Formative and summative. Remember, formative is we're going to check on the adults to make sure they're doing it. Summative is when we give them the test. Then we kind of summarize it in this. And there it is. What is our activity we're going to do? What's the timeline? Who's going to do it? What resources are needed? How are we going to check on the adults to make sure they're delivering the content? How are we going to assess it? Integrate tests. Our goal is 80%. That's our long-term goal. But our SMART goal, our indicator of success is 65 from 60 this year. That's what we're looking for. I just sat through this today. This is the state model that they want. That's why we're teaching you. That's why I go to these updates. This was kind of a change up today. This was more about EC 504, McKinney-Vento, all the legal stuff that I'll teach you in 603 next semester. That's what this was there. But they had a session today on this because of the legal. They talked about the legal ramifications of this today as well. But yeah, I was making sure that our content in 603 is aligned with the state content on law and policy. I teach law and policy for us. I'm the head of that division. So that's why I was there. But I felt very good about what we're teaching you. And of course, we patterned it after that to begin with. So I think you'll be stood in good stead if you learn this process of how to put together an action plan, that it's research based. Now, you're going to see a growth plan next semester. Not next semester, next quarter, after we get through with this one, after the break. You're going to have to do a professional growth plan. It'll be in the same model. You're going to have to do a marketing plan next semester. It'll be in the same model. Your last semester, you're going to have to do a cultural advocacy plan. It'll be in the same model. And then all these models in the end will be put together in your school improvement action plan. So this is a constant. I developed this model 10 years ago when I was teaching the 3-hour courses in assessment and measurement for Gardner Webb prior to the formation of the Mels program that I've been with now for 8 years. And so this is kind of the Gardner Webb way. This is the way that we do these things. There may be something better. I'm sure there's something better that you could think of, but this is kind of the way that we do this. We teach this same system all the way through all of our courses, whether you're in our 3-course sequence or our 5-course sequence. We teach this same method all the way through in terms of how you come up with an actionable plan and what it should contain. And so, like I said, somebody's ripped off my work in that article, but that's okay. That's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Dr. Lamb, they're asking the question about the choice between the graphic organizer and PERT chart. You did hear it well. We do not, if you choose to do the PERT chart, you've got to really sell yourself with it, but we highly prefer the graphic organizer.
If you can, if you can sell me on it, but now I don't know. There's one right here. I mean, I would prefer that you do this one, and then if you want to tempt this one as a bonus, that would be fine. But I really need for the first time to see that you understand, because we're going to read these things, that we need to understand that you know the process. And then if you want to put one of these together, I think that's great. That's kind of an extra credit kind of thing. But I need to see that you know how to do this one would be really good.
And Dr. Lamb, they need to understand too that your graphic organizer is really just a repeat of what you've done in prompt 1. You've done a narrative job in prompt 1, and now you're taking it and you're actually showing us what you've talked about in prompt 2. So it's just a checks and balance for yourself.
Yeah. And then when you go across this one, if you don't have information to put in there, you got to go back and revisit prompt 1. I missed that. But I am not a big fan of a PERT chart. I like PERT charts for some things, but not for action plans. When you submit your school improvement plan, it'll have to be in this format to your district to make sure that it's aligned with their strategic plan. You'll have to submit it in this format. You will not be able to submit it in this format. This shows a higher level of thinking that maybe I haven't gotten to yet. I'm hoping to get there one day. This is for curriculum people that are a little bit higher plane than I am. Remember, I'm an old operations fellow. And
Dr. Lamb,
it does show a lot of thought and creativity to do this.
Right.
Make sure that we can walk before we run.
And those of you that, the creative juices are flowing, once you do the graphic organizer, when you do your presentation to your administration, the PERT chart may work for you with your presentation. So that may be what you want to consider to use, as a part of your presentation with your administration.
Yeah. May work great. Absolutely. It may work great with them. PERT charts work out pretty good when you're doing presentation to get people to kind of understand the scope of what you're doing. But, on the day-to-day, what are we going to do today kind of thing, you need those graphic organizers.
So, okay. Dr. Lamb, that is the, and then we go to prompt 2. Okay. The candidate will share the action plan with administration and schedule a meeting between the PLC and administrative team to discuss possible implementation. Notice it said possible implementation. We want it to be so good, though, that when you present it to them, that they say the wow effect is there, and they can't wait to implement whatever it is that you're proposing. Now, you have to understand, too, that you're really at a good point, that whatever you present now, they may say, well, we've got things in place, but when you come back after the Christmas break, a lot of times that's a restart for people. So your administration may say, well, this is something that we will want to implement in January. Or they may say, we've got everything in place for this year. This is something that we'll talk about this summer and that we'll implement it for the next school year. So, don't be discouraged if that is the direction that they take. The discussion that you're going to have with your administration should include, but is not limited to, the following topics. Okay, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, you see five headings. The first one is building efficacy. You're going to simply talk about, based on your research, everything that you're doing, what you're proposing to do, how are you going to build efficacy? What are the plans to build efficacy in your school? What are the plans or the strategies for sustained growth? How are you going to, you're looking at something, you don't want to just do something. How are you going to be able to keep it and move the pendulum in the right direction? What are those issues concerning diversity? Dr. Lamb, will you speak to that? What do you mean exactly by those issues concerning diversity? Are you there?
I'm here. I was just typing out one. All right.
Okay.
Well, that's what subgroups are.
That's exactly right.
That's kind of the whole point.
How are you going to address all of the different entities that's involved in your school, all of those subgroups?
That's where we started this thing.
There. And when you identified your problem, you've looked at those issues already.
Yeah,
you've already looked at it. So this is where you've already looked at it. You're taking it a step further now. You're going, it really should be a much stronger look at it at this point. Then, what resources? What do you need to get the job done?
Yeah, I had a question. I had a question here. Okay. What if you're focusing on a subgroup already? Well, that's the whole point. You are focusing on subgroups. Just reiterate that you focused on a subgroup. We know you're focusing on a subgroup because that's what we ask you to do.
Right.
And so that, because we knew at the end of this, because this is not our first time, we knew at the end of this you'd be asked to address diversity. We also know that closing the gap across the state is to address diversity and making sure that we serve all of our groups of subgroups of students in our building. That's what the Closing the Gap initiative is to make sure we're serving all of our diverse groups. And that how many times you heard me talk to you about goodness of fit? Make sure that the program that you pick works for kids that look like the ones that you have in your community. Why we had you do a school profile, so you'd know what your community looks like, what your students look like, what these individual subgroups look like. Just reiterate that. We built this in from the beginning because we already turned to the back and saw the back page where the answers were. We already knew where we were going with this. You just got to restate that you know that that's why we had you do this. That the whole point was to close the gap between the subgroup and your overall test performance. That was the whole notion here. Because you're going to be asked to do that once you're in a school. That's exactly right. Diversity not only means gender or ethnicity or race or whatever. Diversity also means different learning levels.
Right. Learning styles.
Learning styles, learning level, different ability groups.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different kinds of diversity. What we're trying to do is get our schools and our school people to understand that just because you're pitching doesn't mean they're catching, but you've got to find a way to try to hit all students in your building, because that's the right thing to do. You don't have to justify that. It is the right thing to do to teach all children. And that's what the state's presentation was today. DPI had some folks there, and that was what their presentation was today, is this is how we expect you to achieve these goals. Here are the legal requirements, but they went over the Closing the Gap program today, and I thought, geez, they've been coming to our classes. They have finally picked up on what we're doing. Again, we're a little ahead of the curve on them on that. But we built this program around their grading rubric. DPI has read enough of these app sales. My suspicion is they've kind of picked up on that. So we're kind of on the cutting edge here. I'm not sure it's the cutting edge, but we're out there. But we're doing the kinds of things that make a difference in schools for students, and that's what's important. Whether whoever decided to do it this way, that's what's important.
Dr. Lamb, several good questions have come up, but I can't read all the question on my end.
All right, let's see what we got here. Grade level, would it be prudent to include new ESSAS goals? I can't say that that's just in a blanket statement. That's specific to what you're proposing, I would say. It wouldn't be bad to use those according to what you're doing. It's kind of tough because the program that I would know would provide the students with cost money. How would you approach the situation when they're not available? Well, if you got to ask, they only tell you no. Again, Dr. Stebbins just covered that. We'd like to see you run the program, but now it's not a requirement. But if you do the presentation, they might can find the money. If your presentation's good enough and you're convincing enough, but don't just say, they're not going to let me do it. You've not lost anything by asking, and it would be good experience to do the presentation. And they might say, nope, can't do that, but maybe we can do some of it or part of it, or, we'd love to, but, you'll never know till you ask. So that's a good question. That's a good problem to have.
It is.
What am I looking for under shared vision of learning?
We just haven't got that far yet.
All right.
Okay, you can go ahead. We hadn't talked about resources yet, Dr. Lamb.
All right, resources. Human and fiscal. How many people is it going to take? How much time? And how much money? Don't forget your human resources. Got to count that, and then how much money is it going to take? So that's your resources now. And the last one, establishing a shared vision of learning. The shared vision of learning is that every child is important. Somebody's going to say, well, that's just for some little small group of kids, but they're the ones that are not performing. Every child is valuable. Every child is worth it. One of the things that when we did the high school challenge in Charlotte-Mecklenburg a lot of years ago, it only cost $6 million, which was less than 0.5% of the act. The budget that year in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools was $1.4 billion. That's with a B, $billion. This was like 0.4% of the budget. And we had a group of people that were on the county commissioners that screamed and yelled and acted like it was all the money in the world, that we were spending the whole budget on one group of school students at 3 high schools. Now, they were just complete idiots. It was just a minor part. But the notion was, and what some of us stood up and said to them was these kids are worth it. Shared vision of learning is that every child can learn, and that every child is worth the effort. So what you're saying to those three high school communities is your kids aren't worth it. Oh, well, $6 million is a drop in the bucket. That's like change in the ashtray in my truck. I'm not a smoker, so I use the ashtray for a change to hold my change. That's like the change in my truck. $6 million to a $1.4 billion budget. But now they didn't want to frame it in that context. They wanted to act like it was just all the money in the world. What they were really saying was code is these kids at these schools don't matter. It's exactly what they were saying. And what you need to be able to say is, you know, we're trying to establish a shared vision of learning, that teaching and learning is what's important in the building. Somebody asked today, one of the attorneys asked today, what do we do in schools? And the answer, of course, is we teach kids. I thought, boy, they're still not my best material here. You know, what do they do at Jones Sausage, which is right around the corner from where we were today? They make sausage. What do we do in school? We teach kids. Our shared vision of learning is that we got to do the best for every child, that none of them don't deserve, you know, that all of them deserve our best effort. That's our shared vision of learning, that everything that we do in school is not for everybody, that we have to look at special populations of kids in our building and subgroups, and it's okay to work with them a little extra or a little more. See, we have some folks who believe that, oh no, they shouldn't get anything extra. You know, one of the first schools that I was an administrator in, we had exceptional children's program that had teacher assistants. We also had an academically gifted program that the local paid for the teacher in order to appease the wealthy parents. And they came to me as principal and said, we want a teacher assistant for our teacher in the gifted program. I said, you're getting the teachers extra already. And they said, well, they've got a teacher over in exceptional children. I said, they're paid for by federal funds. Well, if they can't have one, if we can't have one, they shouldn't have one. We want you to take theirs. No, that's not the way it works. But there's a lot of people out there today, folks, who don't believe in diversity, who don't believe that every child deserves as much as you can do for them. There's a lot of people who don't have a shared vision that every child can learn and that we should try to make sure that they do. That's the notion of the Closing the Gap program, is to look within ourselves and our hearts and who we are as people and educators and try to do the best we can for all the kids that are in our building. That's the notion here. That's our shared vision of learning.
Dr. Lamb, you know, in prompt 1, it's almost like being an attorney, and when you go before your committee, your administration, you're presenting your case there. And when you get to prompt 2, you know you got a jury there, and you're gonna have closing statements with everything, and you want to touch their hearts.
Absolutely.
So this is an opportunity. You say what you need to say there, to touch those heartstrings and to make them believe in you, make them believe in what you've done, all the work that you've done, and make them know that what you're doing is going to make a difference in your school and it means something. So, you become an attorney here.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were going to be an attorney this semester too.
Well, but the whole notion here is at some point you've got to be able to convince somebody that's a decision maker to hire you as an administrator. And they have to believe that you're trustworthy, that you're honest, that you're not going to embarrass the district. But more than that, they have to believe that you have the best interests of kids at heart and that you're passionate about educating children. Mm-hmm. They have to believe that. Otherwise, they won't give you the keys. Just that simple. If they don't believe that you believe in kids and learning, that you're passionate about what you do, and you're passionate about making sure that their children learn, you'll never get that shot. You'll never get that opportunity. You have to convince them. So this is your first time out with the administrative team in your building, the school leadership team, the school improvement team. This is your first opportunity to see how persuasive that you can be in front of that jury. This is really good training for when you're trying to convince people to hire you, to give you your shot.
Okay. I think we've covered task 4, Dr. Lamb.
All right, then task 5, you just simply write a paragraph or so about how you met these different competencies. Now, if you're not sure how to write a competency, read these, which leads me to talk about Thursday night.
Dr. Lamb, can we say this? Remember, you've got to do the competencies 3 different times, 21 each semester. With the app sale, you've got to do 12. 12 are built in the app. So 8 of them, it tells you which ones you've got to do. 4 you pick, right, Dr. Lamb?
Yeah.
Is that it? And then
Yeah, you do
when
12,
you do the app
you do
tail,
12 and
you
9.
do the other 9.
Yeah. All right.
So
Now this is the written narrative. This is the expectation here, is that you will write a narrative. Now, Thursday night, rather than our regular session, we'll have a town hall with all of our 601 students. You should have already gotten the email link from me, the town hall link. That's a different Zoom product. It'll work just like this one. You have to use the chat function because it's got an automatic mute on it. But so what we'll cover Thursday night is task stream. And so you should have already received the link from Watermark Task Stream about how to establish your account. Make sure you go in and do that. And I will teach you how to use Task Stream on Thursday night. Not only to put your work in, your AppSell and your AppTel this semester for your final state grading, but also we'll talk about, and I'll show you how to establish your competency folio. Now, competency folio is where you put your artifacts. They're artifacts of conflict management, visionary. It's the competency artifacts, things that you generated. So that's what I want to make sure that you understand the difference. When you write your competencies here in Task 5, and then later this semester in Task 4 of the AppSell, you're going to write all 21. You're going to write us how you achieved competence. Now, in Task Stream, you're going to create a folio or a folio, a competency folio, where you're going to put items in there that prove to us that you actually did the work that you said you did, like email permission. That's an example of communication. An agenda, minutes from your PLC meetings. You're going to put those artifact items, one for each of the 21 competencies from this semester, one at least, you can put more than one, in that folio that prove that you did what you said. Now, the reason why we have you do it that way is that because it's a separate folio, it will be transferred over into your regular portfolio and submitted to the state. But because it's separate, we can publish and share it, and it becomes your portfolio for job interviews. They don't want to read, trust me, potential employers don't want to read your evidence artifacts. But it's kind of like you have this portfolio of pictures of things that you've done. It shows them that you know how to do these things, and here's an example of my work. It's a quick and easy. Potential employers like that. And so you can publish and share that with them. You can do it electronically, or you can also print it out and take hard copies. But we find that our candidates, that's very impressive in a job interview situation, is to be able to have a portfolio of artifacts of things that you've done during the time that you were with us in your clinical experience. And so we'll show you how to do that Thursday night. Now, back to tonight. What I'm looking for here is a written description of what you did to meet that competency. We'll work on folios and artifacts on Thursday night. But I need for you to understand the difference between writing a competency and displaying or uploading a competency artifact. They're two completely different things. One tells us what you did, one shows us the proof that you did it. And we'll cover that. We'll cover that Thursday night. I'll teach you those things. So make sure that you have an email from TaskStream Watermark TaskStream, that shows you how to go in and set up your TaskStream account. Then I will show you how to use it on Thursday night.
Okay. Dr. Lamb, I was going to actually go into case studies tonight, but I'm not. I'm going to hold that until next Tuesday. They've got a lot to do anyway, so I'm going to hold off on that until next Tuesday. And then the only other thing that I need for you to show them, the question that came up about those that chose to do their virtual collaboration with task 1 and task 2 separately. Some said that they couldn't go in and submit it twice. You said that it has unlimited opportunities to submit in there. Is that not what you told me?
It is. So what they were talking about was completed peer review Dropbox for task
Down at
1
the
and
bottom,
task
yeah.
2.
Right.
I was able to submit 2 links, Melissa said.
Okay.
I just checked it. It worked fine.
So the student that was having a problem, if it continues, we'll have to work through Dr. Lamb, and he'll help us figure out if there's a problem on your end. So we'll just have to do that.
Yeah, we can do that. But no, I've got it set up on unlimited. I just checked it again.
Okay. Melissa said they need to know not to attach the files. Thank you, Melissa.
Okay. Yeah, don't attach the files. Just put the link down here in the box. Don't attach the file. That's probably what it wouldn't let you. Remember, you can't attach MP4s in Blackboard because of the storage space. That's why we do what we do with YouTube. Gardner Web won't allow you to upload MP4s. That's probably the issue. That's a good catch.
Right. And that may be it. Sharon, you just asked the question. Everybody does need to submit the file. That's the only way we can give you your individual grade. We don't have to look at everybody. Once we look at a one that has come through with a group, then we can go ahead and approve the others. But that's the only way you can get your grade is to submit it.
Mm-hmm. So what you do is you take and copy and paste your link right here in the comments box so that we can open it up. Do not try to browse my computer and upload the MP4. It will not let you upload an MP4. That's the video.
Michelle, answer Michelle. Michelle was the one that asked the questions to me earlier. So answer Michelle's question.
There, it doesn't have the comments box. Yeah, it'll have a comment box under.
Dr. Lamb, when I go in there, it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like I can submit like that. It just shows that I have something there, but it doesn't let me upload anything else.
All right. Make sure that you go back and upload completed, not peer review. Make sure you go to completed peer review Dropbox. Are you on your computer now?
Yes, and I did go to that.
Dr. Lamb, Melissa made a comment. She said try a different browser. She said that, Michelle, that may be the problem.
Which browser are you
using? Browser that may make the difference there.
Okay, I'll try a different browser when I do it again.
Yeah, but you should be able to go to AppSell completed peer review Dropbox, and then when you click on task 1 and 2 peer review link, it will have a comment box here.
Yeah, because it does not look like that on mine, but I'll try a different browser.
Yeah.
And if not, communicate with me. We'll figure it out, Michelle. Don't get discouraged. We'll figure it out.
We'll just need to do a Zoom, and so we can see your screen.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We can make you the host so you can show us your screen. We'll do that.
Okay.
Let me know one way or the other, Michelle, okay?
I will. I'll try it later, and I'll let you know.
Okay,
right.
Thank you.
All right. What's next?
That's it, Dr. Lamb.
All right.
I think
So
we've given them a lot for the night.
Our regular time on Thursday will be a town hall with everybody, so be on your best behavior. We'll have everybody with us Thursday night. Should be about 145 of us, I guess, on Thursday night as we go over task stream. Make sure you get your account established. I'm enjoying reading your work. I especially like reading the school profiles.
Me too, Dr. Lamb.
Learning about different places. A lot of the places I've been before and some I haven't, but I enjoy those. I enjoy seeing your work. Your work's coming along. As Dr. Stedman said, we're very pleased with the quality of your work. You're kind of catching on. And so it makes it easier for us as we go. All right. prayers for everybody that's still affected by the flooding. Unfortunately, as I said, I was in Raleigh the last 2 days. They had a lot of people there working, battening down. They're expecting a lot more rain along the coast in the next 2 or 3 or 4 days. Prayers for everybody and the flood. If you have problems, issues, if you know somebody that needs assistance or needs our attention, please let us know. Sharon says that they're still not in school for the 3rd week.
Yeah, my county, Robinson County, isn't either.
Tough. So let us know what we can do to be of assistance, or if there's anything that we can do. All right. We will see you on Thursday night for the task stream session. Everybody have a good week. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Good night, everybody. I'll see you Thursday.
Night.
All right.